Hello guys, you're welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, you're welcome. Today's video I'll be showing you guys on how I made this beautiful Ankara bubu style. It has a drawstring on the waistline to snatch the waist to give it a very nice look, and it also has a side slit and inseam pockets. I used about 4 yards to make this style, 4 yards of Ankara fabric to make this style. So if this is what you would love to learn how to make, please sit back, relax and enjoy the tutorial. And if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, click the red button down below to subscribe, and also click the notification bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you will be notified. So without further ado, let's move right to the tutorial. From the 6 yards of the Ankara fabric, I folded it into two, selvage to selvage, and I cut out my length. My bubu length is always 65 inches, including hemming allowance. I'm cutting the front bodies. I'm going to keep this aside. I'll fold the fabric again and cut the back bodies, and I'm going to place both the front bodies and the back bodies on top of each other and start drafting. Make sure that you arrange the fabrics. Let them be equal at the folded edge. On the starting line, I impute neck width 3 inches. Neck depth for the back 1 inch. From my center back to where the sleeve will stop, I measured 22 inches. At that point, I measured 2 inches for the shoulder slope. Then I connect to the neck width. Next, I measured 13 inches for the sleeve opening, and I drew that into a straight line. Shoulder to my hip line is 25 inches. On the hip line, I impute my hip measurement divided by 4, which is 13 inches plus extra 4 inches. The total measurement that I have for the wideness is 17 inches, and I measure that 17 inches straight to the hem of the dress, and I rule that into a straight line. I connect the sleeve to join the body, and I curve the armhole. For my pocket placement, I measured 19 inches from the shoulder. Before cutting it out, I added ½ inch to the shoulder. That's about it for the drafting. Next is to cut it out. Before removing the back bodies, I notch the pocket opening where it will start from and the side slits. So I'll continue with the front bodies. Neck depth for the front, I measured 8 inches. From the 8 inches, I measured 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches straight to the M. And I connect the dotted lines into a straight line. From the 8 inches, I curve to meet the neck width. I curve it to the neckline. Next is to cut it out. I'm going to place the front and the back bodies together, right side facing each other. I'll take to my sewing machine and I will join it with 1/2 inch seam allowance on the shoulder. I've joined the bodies together. Next is to notch the center back. I notch the center back. So from the center back on one side, I'm going to measure the length that I have, because I'll be using this length to cut the fabric for the lapel. The length is 69 inches. So from the leftover fabric, I'll first of all measure the length to see if I will have up to 69 inches. I have more than enough. So next I fold the fabric like so. I measured 5 inches for the lapel. The width is 5 inches. I measure it straight down, then I cut it out. After cutting, I split the folded edge into 2. I'll be having 2 long strips for the lapel. After cutting, I place the right side facing each other I took it to the sewing machine and joined them together with 1-inch seam allowance. Then I will have a very long strip. This is how it looks after joining. As you can see, it is a very long strip. Next, take to your sewing machine the parts that you joined the strips together. You will give it a good press. The part that I joined the two long strips together serves as the center back. So from that joining, I measure down 14 inches. This is the amount of opening I want on the neckline. So from there, I measure the midpoint of the width of the fabric, which is 2.5 inches. I measure 2.5 inches straight down. After that, I'm going to rule a straight line. I am marking on the wrong side of the fabric. After ruling a straight line, I will take to my sewing machine. I'm going to sew on the straight line. From the beginning, make sure that you backstitch about 2 to 3 times. Very important. So I'll quickly do that and show us the next step to take. I've sewn it. I cut out the excess from the center back. So this is how it looks. Next is to take to my ironing table and give it a very good press. I'm using a cotton Ankara fabric. That is why I did not iron stay to it. If you are not using cotton fabric, please make sure that you iron stay to yours. I just felt there's no need since it is a cotton fabric. So after ironing, next is to sew the lapel to the neckline. The part that we join the two long strips together serves as the center back. So I'm going to pin the center back to the center back of the bodice. I'll pin it down. Then I'll take to my sewing machine. From the center back, I will sew on one side. Then I'll come back to the center back and sew on the other side of the neckline. So let me quickly do that and show us the next step to take. You can also pin it down first before sewing, however it's convenient for you. I've sewn it. I've joined the lapel to the bodice. You can also use a different color of fabric for the lapel. Next is to fold the edge of the sleeve opening twice and stitch it down. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. I've sewn it. This is how it looks. I overlock all the edges as well. I've also sewn the edge of the sleeve. I folded it 1/2 inch twice and I stitch it down. So next is to cut pockets. I've already made a detailed tutorial on how to cut and sew inseam pockets to your bubu gown. I've sewn the inseam pocket and I've joined the sides with 1 inch seam allowance. Next, from my shoulder, I measure down to my waistline. I mark it. I rule a straight line. I measure the same thing on the other side. Shoulder to my waistline, I rule a straight line on the right side. I flip the bodice to the back. I repeat the same thing. I measured from the shoulder to my waistline. You will make a line on the right side. You flip it back to the front. From the center line, you will measure what you have. Measure what you have on the waistline. Then, from the leftover fabric, I'm going to cut out long strip of fabric to sew rope. I measured 1.5 inches into 2 places. 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. I will roll that into a straight line and cut it out. This is for my rope. I will join the 2 long strips together. It will give me a very long strips, enough for my waist to tie around the waistline. So I'll cut it out. Then next, I measured 2 inches. This 2 inches is for the casing that the rope will pass through. I measured 2 inches, 2 inches. 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, and I rule that into a straight line and cut it out. I'm going to join the 2 long strips together to make it into one very long strip. I'll repeat the same thing on that 1.5 as well. I've joined the 1.5 inches on together. This is for the rope that is going to pass through the casing. The total length that I have is almost 100 inches. So next, I'll fold 1/4 of an inch on both sides and I'll fold it on top and stitch it down. This is for the rope. I believe you guys can sew rope with fabric. Then for the 2 inches, what you will do, you will take to your ironing table, you will fold 1/2 inch on both sides and give it a good press. At the edge, you will also fold in 1/2 inch and iron it. This is how it should look. You will do this straight down. This is for the casing that the rope will pass through it. So on the right side, it should look like this. After ironing, this is how it should look on the right side. On the table, I have the casing and the rope. So next, you will take the bodies. On the waistline, where we chalk, I'm going to place the casing on the line that we marked on the waistline. The center line in front, the center line on the lapel in front will serve as a guideline from where we are going to start from. I place the casing 1/2 inch away from the center line in front. So I'll take to my sewing machine. I'm going to stitch the edge down. I'll stitch the up, down, and I'll come to the down part of the casing and also stitch it down. Please note, when you are stitching it down, separate the front bodies from the back bodies. You will stitch it down round, starting from one side of the center front to the other side of the center front. You will stitch it on the waistline. Remember that we chalk the waistline. So on that chalk, you will place the casing to cover the chalk and stitch it down. I marked 1/2 inch away from the center line. Then I place the casing on top of it, making sure that it covers the line. Then at the edge, on top of the casing, I will stitch it down round. I'll come to the lower part of the casing and also stitch it down round. I've stitched it down. This is how it looks in front, and this is how it looks at the back. This is the opening where the rope is going to pass through it. So next, with my safety pin, I'm going to pass the rope through the casing. After passing the rope through the casing, I'm going to hem the down part and give it a good press, and that's about it for today's tutorial. We've come to the end of today's tutorial, guys. If you find my tutorial helpful, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel down below if you've not done so. I upload weekly tutorial on my channel. Also remember to click the notification bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you will be notified. Until I come your way next, please stay safe and remain blessed. Thanks for watching. I love you all. Bye.